Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Aaron Advantage podcast today. I am joined by probably one of my favorite people in Evansville because he makes the food that I love to eat. Randy Hobson, owner of Pangea and Second Language. Randy, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity.
Good morning. Hey, you know what? Thank you for bringing the amazing food that you have to Evansville. Every time I hear that you've got a project in the works, I'm always excited. I think you may have been the very first video I did on my food content whenever I came and saw you at Pangea when you guys first opened up, and that's still one of my favorite videos I've ever made, so I'm going to have to try and do that again sometime.
Well, that was awesome, and for your first time, that you did a heck of a job, so thank you.
I appreciate that. I really do. So, Randy, tell us a little bit about, let's start with Second Language, because that's the newest project, obviously, that you got going on,
Sure.
And I don't know if everybody, I spoke to someone recently, they saw a picture I posted of the ramen I was eating, and they're like, wait, what? Where is that at? How do I get my hands on some of that action? So tell us about Second Language.
So we opened our doors, I guess it was toward the latter part of November of last year. This is downtown, 2nd and Ingle Street, in the old Nabisco factory. This was a kind of a development project with Mike Martin of Architectural Renovators. Mike bought that building with the intent of putting in several really cool apartments, really in holding the character of the building, which was built in 1894.
Wow.
And it was fitting at the time that we got together, and he kept telling me, hey, come check this place out. And, I'd drive by and look at the outside, and I'd be like, yeah, it's all right, And then he got me inside, and I was like, holy cow. And then, his vision to do cool things with buildings is evident with his efforts downtown. So, it was an alignment there that led to two spaces that we will have concepts in. The first is now operating as Second Language Ramen, and shortly, hopefully in the next 60 days or so, we're retrofitting the old patisserie space that we closed in November of last year when we opened the Ramen Side. And we're going to do, I'm going to call it a Neapolitan style pizza, which I'll probably need to explain that.
A little bit.
Yeah, so certainly people are familiar with Neapolitan pizza, which is the true wood-fired, the birthplace of pizza being Naples. That was my passion, to bring authentic pizza. And being the first made it even more, pronounced in my mind. But, that is also has its limitations, that style of pizza. Very difficult to find people to run those ovens.
Right.
The temperatures range about 900 degrees, open flame, burning wood.
It takes a skill.
It does. But, a couple of the limitations that we found on it, you can't put a lot of toppings on those pies. You can't do large formats with those pies. And been researching some oven technology that has been pretty prominent in Europe, starting to infiltrate into the United States. A company out of Sweden, which builds some incredible high-temperature deck ovens.
Oh, cool.
And I act like I know my stuff here, talking techie, but bottom line is we are able to replicate the same stones that we have in our wood-fired oven and get a temperature close to 800 degrees in a deck oven.
Wow.
Which allows us to cook a pizza. A Neapolitan pie takes about 80, 90 seconds in a wood-fired oven. This oven will cook that same pie in about 2.5 minutes. We did a lot of testing up in Chicago. Honestly, the pies taste really, really close. That said, we probably want to take this baseline and do something a little bit different with it. We want to go larger formats. We want to go a little big, chewier, a little crisper pies,
Nice.
Which will help us deliver a better product, not just in the store, but also for people that want to carry out. So this concept will be a big focus on takeaway, delivery, which will be a first for us.
Awesome.
And, we'll have some limited seating. You can come in, grab a beer, wait for a pie, check out whatever on the TV while your pie is being cooked. So this is kind of the second leg of that that process down there, and we're pretty excited about it. Just spent a week in Dallas doing a lot of research on a concept down there that's doing some really cool things in that same vernacular. The other thing we're going to do is we'll have our gelatos that we make at Pangea prepackaged, so you can order a pie, get a pint of whatever your favorite gelato is. Again, making it very simple, lean operation. And, in today's economy, in today's environment, people want convenience. They also, as an operator, we've got to be very thoughtful on what's sustainable long term. So,
right. No, that makes sense. I got to tell you, I'm a little disheartened to hear that you're going to make larger formats, because that means I'm going to just eat more of that pizza. Good problem to have. Good problem to have. Don't get me wrong. I tell you, the first Neapolitan pizza I ever had was at a place in Austin, Texas. It was at Jester King Brewery, and they had a wood-fired oven outside and all this stuff, and I thought, man, that was amazing. So when I first heard that you were bringing it to Evansville, I was hyping it up to everybody. I'm like, if you haven't had it, you've got to try these kind of pizzas, and I've never heard anybody say anything other than they're amazing. So
Thank you.
I'm excited to have another spot with a larger format, because then I won't feel as bad eating more of that.
Right on.
Because I could share some with somebody else.
You bet. Well, I hope you enjoy it.
I sure will. So let's talk a little bit more about the ramen side, because I know most people, when they think of ramen, they think of the little block of dried noodles that you throw in the microwave and put a seasoning pack in, and it's obviously not that.
It's not. And go again, when we do these things, my passion is to do things as authentic as possible and to bring something that people in Evansville can be proud of having in the city. And that comes a lot from my past life, at Berry Plastics, trying to recruit and bring young talent into this city. And, I know housing's important, education's important, but pretty quickly on that list, when you're talking to prospective clients, they tell me about the food scene, you know? And, ramen, was something that I knew a fair amount about. We'd done enough pop-ups at Pangea, testing and trying, but it really came home when I went to Los Angeles to spend a week with a gentleman, Kenichi Oto, who is a ramen master from Japan. He's been in the States about 10 years. He shares a passion to see ramen really become a staple in the U.S. economy, and in a manner that he grew up with in Japan, things
Very
that
nice.
he's seen there. So I spent a week there training, was overwhelmed, to say the least.
I can understand that.
But, same with the Neapolitan. When I did my training on that, I was like, man, I'm not sure I can do this myself, so I got to find some great people. And so he basically got me started, helped me get the right equipment. Ramen is all about the broth.
100%.
I mean, we make everything in the restaurant except the noodles, kind of converse to Pangea. Ramen noodles are very, very difficult to make. They're very different varieties. Just a challenge. So we really wanted to do everything we could in-house, and the noodles, we just said, look, these guys are experts. I visited a plant, watched the way the technology works. I was like, I don't want any part of that. So the ramen broth was where we really spent my time, invested in some technology. Our ramen cooking equipment came from Japan. There's very few of them in the United States right now.
Awesome.
And the telltale for me was during the training that I did in Los Angeles, we're cooking ramen the traditional way in a open pot. And, a tonkatsu pork might take 11 hours.
Right.
In this equipment, which is a pressurized cooking system, it took it down to 3 to 4 hours. But the win was really when you did the taste profiles, when you tasted the ramen cooked the traditional way versus the ramen cooked with the pressure cooker. And it was pretty alarming almost when you looked at the end of the cook, you drain all the ramen out, you taste it obviously, but you look down into the kettle and what's remaining is, it's the bones that have been cooked down to a form that they literally look like ashes.
Wow.
They are depleted of everything. So all that is flavor and profiles of flavor that really make the product. So We invested a lot there. We make 3 broths in-house. We make the pork tonkatsu, which is probably the most prominent, a thick, rich broth, a lot of flavor, strong flavor. Pork being pork creates a lot of flavor, where chicken is a lot less flavor.
Right.
Both of those are creamy broths that we make, but they have very different profiles. And then we make a vegetable broth, which is a very clear broth. That was kind of where a lot of effort took place. And honestly, once you had that broth right, it's a matter of putting together profiles that work.
Right.
And, what we found in Evansville, a lot of people were a little bit intimidated by ramen. They don't know what to eat. They don't know how to eat it. And I will tell you, there's no manners. I was one of 4 boys. When the food hit the table in my house growing up, it was, you eat fast because that's all you get.
Same here.
So, but I think there's an education process, and again, that's the part of this business that I absolutely love, is educating our team, but also educating customers about the food.
Right.
And that is definitely something. We brought in Ken, the ramen guy, Kenichi. So he spent 4 days here in Evansville with our team.
Nice.
Did training on site with his new equipment, and we were kind of off and running after that. I will mention one of the things we're doing actually this month on April 20th, we're going to do our first ramen experience.
Oh, tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's something that we're going to do once a month, the third Wednesday of each month, and 20 people can sign up. It's a pre-registration, pre-reservation kind of deal, but we're going to segregate off part of the restaurant and try and do a little bit of a deep dive into ramen. For example, just having a flight of the 3 broths that we make and letting people taste a pork broth versus a chicken versus a veg, and talk about the noodles. So our team, our chef Bonnie will be leading, letting people see the process, ask a lot of questions, and again, in a fun environment.
I know what I'm signing up for.
Well, please,
that sounds incredible.
Yeah, please do. And, it's a situation where you'll get, a variety of appetizers, you'll get ramen, and then we give you like a gift card to come back and see us, hopefully, for $50 a person.
Nice.
And I think we're going to have some fun with it. And
that sounds like a great time.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned after my life as a corporate person. You can't take yourself too serious in this business, so you'll wilt.
That's right. And the whole side of the education thing. I kind of reflect on that myself, because my whole mission for my team in real estate, I always say, is to educate the consumer on the process of buying and selling a home to make it less stressful, obviously. And I like to make it fun. And so I kind of do a lot of that same stuff. So to hear somebody like you talking about educating people on this stuff, I love watching like food documentaries and all this stuff.
Sure.
So it's one of the things that I love a lot about what you're doing with that experience you're telling me about. That sounds incredible. I got an education today. I had no idea. It took 3 to 4 hours, and that's a quick process to make your broth.
Oh, yeah.
And and I can attest it is delicious. I was there having lunch last week or so, and a buddy of mine goes, I am not the kind of guy to pick up my bowl and drink the broth, but I am finishing every last drop of this. And it was that tonkatsu pork broth, and it's incredible.
Right, and that's the chef's kiss. We love that. And honestly, the folks from Japan that come in, that's the way they finish.
Nice.
Yeah. And they don't mess around. They get after it.
Yeah, I tell you, I always try to get every last drop down, but I can never get in and not get into those appetizers, and then I don't have enough room to finish it all off, because the food, everything I've had there is so good, and I'm always like, is it bad if I want to go eat there every single day of the week?
No such thing. In Asia, they'll eat it for lunch, dinner, and breakfast sometimes.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
You bet.
So I got to ask about the egg that you guys have on there, because I know the traditional soft egg is in the ramen, and I absolutely love it. But your guys' egg is like dark colored. It's delicious, and I don't know how you do it. Is there some kind of trade secret that you can share?
It's basically the key is getting a soft cook. So we do a very precise sous vide process to get that soft egg. And then after it's cooked, we peel and then we bathe and marinate it in like a soy mixture. That's what creates that. So it's just a little bit. And you know, with Asian food, it's all in the details like that. For example, you know, bamboo shoots, nimne. You know, we marinate those, and I hate to say this, but you know, I used to eat a bamboo shoot and go, man, it was kind of like air, you know. But that takes on a whole different dimension. Just, you know, a short marinade, you know, like a quick marinade, an hour, something like that. Yeah. Creating something that just has a little bit of texture. Same with, you know, like we do with our pork belly. You know, we finish that after the process of, you know, roasting it, like a chashu process basically, and then we do a cold smoke just to finish it and impart that additional smoky flavor, and then marrying it with the black garlic oil creates a ramen that is different, and that's why that's our signature ramen. And it's not for everyone. It's definitely an aggressive
It's for
palate.
me, though. I can tell you that for sure. That is the first ramen I tried when I came there, because I'm like, I gotta go with the signature, obviously.
Right on.
And it is incredible.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
No problem. And I also got to say, you know, I've got your website up here. I'm looking at it. Your design on your website, the way that the photos show off the food. That's the other thing, is like, it's not just that it's delicious, it's also beautiful. And the photos that you have and the way that everything's presented and everything out there, I'm just a huge fan of what you've even done online with it. So,
well, thank you. Well, we have a great partnership with Heidi Muser and her team, and John Gang, who does our photography. You know, the first time I met John, I was struck by, I was like, you know, most photographers are like, well, I do this, I do that. He's like, I love to photograph food. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. I was like, okay.
And it shows. It definitely shows. It looks awesome. So, I tell you what, Randy, I could literally talk about just the ramen all day, every day, but I got to ask a question. A buddy of mine got some chicken sandwich, and I'm trying to find it. And it came to the table, and I had immediate food envy. The bread in and of itself. It was some kind of milk bread, I think. Correct. Is what I heard.
Yeah, it's very interesting bread. It's called Japanese milk bread. We make that there at the business. That was done on the old patisserie side, and we continue to operate that. Even as we bring the pizza into that side, the oven, we have one deck of that oven dedicated to our bakery still. So when we continue to bake, we'll be doing our Japanese cheesecake there. But that bread was one of the first things when I started to study ramen going back probably 8 years ago that struck me. It was like, they kept up my Japanese milk bread. And then, you know, I was in New York City, and we ate these katsu sandos, which is what that is. We do a katsu, which is like more like a tonkatsu sauce, which is like a Japanese barbecue sauce, kind of tangy. And then we do one that's like it's a kind of a play on a Nashville, but it's a hot Asian. And but the bread is somewhat the hero in those sandwiches. You know, it's very thick, and when you toast that bread, it becomes this animal that it's like, man, I just want to eat the bread, you know?
Yeah. My buddy was like, hey, don't get me wrong, this chicken is incredible, but the bread, I was like, I gotta try this sandwich.
Well, the rest of the story on this bread that just amazed me is it's also a very, very big component in the dessert culture in Asia, specifically Japan. So our milk bread is used for our honey toast, which is our best-selling dessert. And I had honey toast in New York City the first time, and I was traveling with a friend, and the friend was like, you need to try this. And I'm like, okay, bread for dessert, I'm not too jacked on that. And I got it. And it was this matcha tea configuration, and it was just like ridiculous. And I was like, oh, my God, okay. So the milk bread, what we do with it, we obviously use it for the sandwiches, but for this dessert, we take a loaf and cut it in half, and that becomes 2 desserts. We cut it down, we score it, a little bit of butter down, and then we toast the bread again. And then on top of that, we do a miso butterscotch sauce, some gelato from Pangea, and fresh fruit. Doesn't sound that sexy, but something about the texture of the crispy bread and the the gelato and then the miso butterscotch comes together. It's crazy. We've been selling the heck out of that one.
I can imagine. I'm not a huge sweet guy, but that sounds amazing. I'm looking at the photo of it right now, and it looks incredible too. So miso butterscotch, that's kind of where I'm like, okay, I got to try this. That's a combination I haven't heard of before, and it sounds incredible.
Right on.
Oh, man. Well, Randy, I don't know if you can hear it where you're sitting, but my stomach is starting to growl just from having all this conversation about the amazing food. I really appreciate you coming in and talking about it. Is there anything else that you got on the back burner that we can share today?
No, we're cranking along, and we're starting to do. I will mention this. Back at Pangea, one of the things that we had just a blast doing, prior to COVID coming, is a lot of dinners in our private dining area. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to see, more pharma dinners coming in, which are great, and parties and all whatever. But we're doing our first dinner that is really just kind of I call it a freestyle dinner, where this group has said, hey, we want to here's a budget. You guys figure out what the heck you want to service. And
nice.
This will be the first dinner we're doing between the chef team at Second Language and Pangea coming together. And the menu is pretty crazy. It's a lot of South American things. Okay. So think arepas, think plantain ceviche.
Nice.
And then, jumping over into the Thai with some snapper with like a tom yum conduction, finished with Japanese cheesecake, steak chimichurri, done Asian style. Fun stuff.
Nice.
And kind
of an eclectic mix of
very,
cultures.
Very eclectic. And, our chef team is very eclectic, and I absolutely love that. And, reaching into their cultures to say, hey, what do you guys want to do that can showcase your skills, and also you can talk to the customer about your heritage. So
right.
That's going to be a fun meal. And, as things, open up, which they are, we hope to be able to do a few more of those that are more open to the public, and share the skills of our team, which I'm always so proud to do. So.
Absolutely. No, that sounds incredible. That would definitely be the kind of stuff that I like to do. You mentioned it earlier whenever you were kind of recruiting guys and everything, and that's one of the things that I talk about when I've got people relocating is the food scene always comes up. Yeah. And it doesn't matter, where they're coming from, what they're doing, they always get to that part. It's the food scene and the night scene. That's what people want to hear about. And I got to say that since you've started doing the things that you're doing, I'm a lot more confident in talking about the food that we can offer. And Pangea is always at the top of my list of people to try. And Second Language is on there now as well.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
I really appreciate you coming in, sharing your story, sharing about the wonderful things that you're doing. And I'll be looking forward to my next meal at either one of those locations.
All right, Aaron. Thank you for your appreciation for what we do. It goes there, All right. Thank you.
It. Thanks, Randy.
Cheers.
Hey, this is Aaron Luttrull. Thank you so much for checking out the Aaron Advantage podcast. If you would like to be a guest, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. We're always looking for other people to interview.